Good morning. Thank you for coming. I hope you've been enjoying the conference so far. My name is Tony Cavada, and I'm a technology sales rep with Oracle, and we're sponsoring this session. And we're going to talk about using data insight, putting it into practice. So I'm very pleased to present our speakers this morning. Many of you know, and good show of force from the Department of Conservation. Thank you for coming. We have Catherine Kendall, CIO with the Department of Conservation. And I want to introduce Khader Mohiuddin from Oracle. And Khader is from our big data practice team. And we're going to do things a little bit differently. Typically, we'd start off with the technical piece of, what it is and why it is and how it is, and then get into, how folks are using it. We're going to flip that. So we're going to start off, and Catherine's going to speak first, and she's going to talk about the journey that Department of Conservation is on, putting data insight into practice, and then Khader will come in and talk about some of the enabling processes and tools and technology that are allowing that to happen. So without further ado, Catherine?
Hello, and thank you. Thank you first to Oracle for giving me this opportunity to speak, and thank you to my dear department for coming here to support me, and another person from my department. So I'm very excited to talk to you today about the Department of Conservation's journey into the world of big data. So the Department of Conservation, we are largely a scientific organization, right? We've got lots of engineers, we have lots of scientists, we have geologists, and one of the things that you would think is, oh, well, of course they're going to be open, to new opportunities in data because, we have such a high number of PhDs. And we've been around, like the Division of Oil and Gas has been around for over 100 years. So we have like a century's worth of data. Our California Geological Survey, these are the ones who track earthquakes. They also have over 100 years worth of data. And that's remarkable. But what are the chances that all that data is in digital format? Pretty low. A lot of it's in paper. I mean, I've looked at wells that go back to like 1915 that are still active or that still are being worked on. So we have data in so many different formats. We also are moving towards, like the California Department of Technology wants us to, and the California Natural Resources Agency, is to move toward being data-driven. We have so much data, we have an abundance of it. We should be moving towards data-driven decision-making. And also, the Department of Conservation is continually having demands for more data reporting, more transparency. And this is common to all state agencies. You have to report, you have to be able to deliver data. That's our responsibility. It's not our data, it's California's data, and we have a responsibility to deliver it and provide it for Californians. And some of that data is extremely interesting because it's, I don't know if you guys all know this, but California tends to have earthquakes. And so because of that, a lot of people have a lot of interest in that data that might be available. Another thing is, one of my favorite quotes is that the two most unpredictable things in the world are human nature and Mother Nature. And guess what? Department of Conservation deals with both at the same time. So it creates a very interesting position for us. So our adoption challenges, not unlike most organizations in the state of California, agencies, departments, divisions, tolerance for change, especially rapid change, is daunting. It's frightening. Even though we work with scientists, highly educated, highly skilled people, you're still talking about changing the way they think, challenging assumptions. We're also an organization where business analytics experience is low. We're a small organization. We have less than 700 people. Okay, so I guess that would be maybe medium-sized, but nevertheless, we're small. We have data in a ton of different formats. A lot of it also in paper. New technology adoption is also not the norm. When we deployed MSO 365, that was a bit of a leap for our organization. So this is indicative of the ability to take in new technologies and to adopt them. I'm a believer in system adoption, not system imposition. And so much in technology, we say, you're moving to this new technology. Here you go, congratulations, it's yours. It's the whole notion of build it and they will come. Well, people tend to resist that. Another thing is our IT department does not have the skills, and I don't mean this anything against my IT department who's sitting here, but we haven't done this type of work. We're not staffed for it. We are not staffed for massive hardware and systems integration and using all these technologies. We have to keep the department running. We have other technologies and other priorities that we are currently focused on. Another thing is, so I'll admit it, when I learned about big data, I thought, wow, this is perfect. This is exactly what DOC needs. I cannot wait to go in and tell the leadership there how great this is and how it's going to transform the organization. So I sat down with the director and the chief deputy director, all excited, explained to them how this was going to be the greatest thing ever. We were going to be able to use big data to be able to make new insights. It can improve our regulations, improve our mission, our goal for a sustainable California. But when I went in and explained it, I completely bombed, completely. Big data is a hard concept to wrap your brain around, okay? And I partially think it's because of the word big data. Just the adjective big on its own implies lots, right? Well, there's 4 V's in big data. Volume's one of them. Velocity is another one. Another is veracity, and another is variability. So that's only 25%, right? So when I tried to explain, I thought to myself, okay, wait, these guys are scientists, so okay, think about 2 variables that you didn't know were correlated, now you find out they're correlated. And they just looked at me and said, no. They said, you can go and experiment, do some testing, but no, I mean, I did not explain it adequately. And so that's where I had one of my first lessons learned in why CIOs get very excited about new technology, can actually see what it can do for an organization. Sometimes it's really, really hard to elaborate on it, because we have knowledge bias, right? It makes perfect sense to us, but it's very hard to explain. And something like big data, digital services, is also something very hard to explain. So that's when reality hit me, and I thought, okay, this list of basic requirements really are more along the lines of limitations, and they relate back to our adoption challenges. Some I knew, some I read. So I did a lot of reading on what challenges that departments have in adoption of big data, analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And one of the first things I learned was you have to have a partnership between IT and the program. In fact, the program has to be the driver, because really, it's not an IT thing. It really isn't. It's not, look what IT can do. We're not the owners of the data. All we can do is provide it, serve it up as a service. But the business has to adopt it. They have to see the value. You also need to demonstrate real value fast. In other words, you better bring something to the table that people say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I had no idea that was the case. And we can say, well, look what we did. But it's got to be fast. Some people call this the low-hanging fruit, but I wouldn't even call it the low-hanging fruit. You got to find something that has immediate value that's actionable now, not some strange scientific concept or something that they already know. It has to be something they don't know, that they've wanted to know, but they don't even know how to ask, and they don't even know how to get the answer, okay? The next is we need help. We don't have any data scientists. Data scientists are hard to find. I'm pretty sure Google and Amazon have all of them, okay? So we didn't have that skill set. We didn't. And also within the program divisions, yes, we have engineers, petroleum engineers, geologists, certified geologists. They're not data scientists at all. So the other thing is, being that we're a small department, we can't make a huge technology investment. We can't procure these assets and say, okay, we're gonna bet on the come. People are gonna come to it. They're gonna use it. We just don't have that. We don't have that money. We're not a large organization. Finally, I wanted under no circumstances systems integration. How many people here are systems integrators or have been a systems integrator? Okay, it's hard. It is hard. I don't care, loose coupling, connectors, converters, you can, SOA, open source, it's still hard, okay? It's just still hard to put things together, and it increases your risk. Every time you add a new system to the ecosystem, you have now created a risk point. You've now created a point of failure, and it becomes difficult. And that's when you get the, it wasn't my fault when you have an outage, right? So low IT support requirements. I also didn't want to deal with having to have people on 24/7. I didn't want to worry about hardware. I didn't want to worry about software. I didn't want to worry about deploying patches. And finally, expandable storage. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how much data DOC has in total. I know there's a lot of it. There's a lot, and it's in a lot of formats, and it's in a lot of places. When I went down to Bakersfield, one of our oil and gas district offices, there are rows and rows of very well organized, I will say, but hard copy files of well logs that go back 50, 60, 70, 100 years, but they're all in paper, okay? So I really don't know if we digitize all this, how much we're really gonna need. Now the good news is some of this data we can get digitally, and we can get it in ASCII text, which is great because that's low storage requirement, but I don't know. So we need expandable storage. So, using those requirements, we started our journey. So what we did is we talked to multiple vendors. And my thing was, I don't want to integrate. I need it easy, and I really need someone to be willing to take a shot with us. So I met with several vendors. I met with Oracle as one of those vendors, and they were willing to come to the table and say, hey, we have a big data lab. Fully integrated, cloud-based, and what we're going to do is we're going to provide you a data scientist. No, they don't know anything about geology, but we'll give you a data scientist, and we'll do it at no cost. Let's run some use cases, and let's see what we can do. And so we said, great, let's do it. This is great. So we took those requirements, and we put them into action. The first thing we did was we formed a small work group of people. This was of oil and gas engineers, and the department of our technology division. Okay, so we coupled them together, but we really let the division drive it. Okay, we were there as the technologists, but they were there to create the use cases. And the vision, the reason we chose a small group was also because I read that we should start with a small group, but also I wanted like-minded individuals, people who would think, wow, what could we possibly do for California? Imagine what we could do, imagine what we could change. People who had their heart in the right place. So that's what's bonded us all. So we also agreed, wow, we need to demonstrate value fast. So we came up with a list of 17 use cases, and then we chose one primary use case, okay? And we gathered that data. But we chose the use case that was applicable, meaningful, and most importantly, if the use case yielded results, action would be required. Because big data can give you insight and ideas, but unless you put them into action and you measure the result, and then you measure that the result a year later is still improving, it's meaningless. All it is problem admiration if you're just producing the reports. You actually have to do something with them. Okay? Otherwise, it's just, you know, hey, yeah, we have a problem. Oh, that's great. Next, we needed help. We got a trained and experienced data scientist who was quite impressive. Had done some very interesting work in defense, down on the peninsula, and again, didn't know anything about geology, knew nothing about it, but understood statistical and mathematical modeling, linear algebra, probabilistic distributions, multivariate analysis. This guy was the real deal. Next, we can't make a significant investment in the technology. The Big Data Lab is a subscription. We pay for it on a quarterly basis, but for this was at no cost for us. This was just an experiment. We called it like a proof of concept. But the subscription service means I don't have to own an asset. That also means it's a turnkey, it's a one-stop. I don't need to do the integration. Somebody else is maintaining it for me. And of course, it's cloud-based, And with the low IT support requirements, it's a software as a service. It's more of a platform as a service. But I don't need to carry and feed for it. My job is to offer it as a service and to facilitate that service to the different divisions within conservation. So then what happened? So that's a picture of, I couldn't, I wanted to be careful because I wanted to put up a picture of people's minds being blown, but I didn't like the images that I found online. It wasn't good. So we paired one data scientist who knew nothing about geology and one engineer who knew nothing about data science. And using public data that's available, but it was in multiple formats. Some was access files, some were LAS files. They put these two guys together part-time. And in 2 weeks, they yielded a meaningful, an actionable, and applicable result. So then we went and said, okay, let's go present to the leadership at DOC. These are the ones that I completely blew it on, that said, we don't get it, Catherine. Just go play with your IT toys. Because a lot of times CIOs, we like to play with technology. It's interesting to us. They were blown away at the results, completely blown away. And the reality was we were able to tell them something they didn't know 10 minutes ago, and we were able to deliver a result that would have probably taken about 1 to 2 years to produce with our existing systems. And we were able to yield results that now the division is taking action on. It was on reporting compliance. And it was something that we didn't know. This wasn't something where we were just going to prove to them, look, we already know this, but see, the system was able to know. No, this was something that they saw, oh my gosh, imagine what we could do with this. All of a sudden, people started talking. For 1 week, I heard throughout the department, I cannot believe what that just blew my mind. That just blew my mind. And that's really nice to hear, especially when you're in IT. You're a CIO and you were taking a chance.